This is Skeet.
Russian Mikey over here.
Rock and Roll Roundtable.
Absolutely presented by our good friends at Moshman Media.
This week, Crash Course Metal Show is our special guest.
What is going on, guys? How are you guys doing?
What's happening? Good, man. Good.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for having me. This is going to be awesome.
We should have plenty to talk about, and we're going to I think we're just going to kind of highlight your career and the stuff you've done, and we'll talk about some metal and some hair metal. We'll just talk about everything today.
That's beautiful. Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
Sweet. So, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been a content creator and doing your show?
Okay. I thought you were going to say how long have I been in the metal scene. I would have said when I was minus 9 months.
Minus 9 months.
Yeah. It's ever since I've been in the womb. But that's for later. That's for a later story. So, but as far as like content creation, like as the Crash Course Metal Show, it's been probably I would say probably like 6 months after COVID started, give or take. So probably like around, I would just say to be safe, probably around 2021. So we are in 25 now. So roughly around 4 years, give or take. Because I started a lot of people don't know this. Like the first year or so, I had a co-host and we were called Crash and Thunders. And
Nice.
we did that for about a year. We were all over the place, like because he was a big guy into punk as well, just different subgenres of metal as well. Same with me. He was a big fan of the hair metal stuff too. But after like a year, he just kind of wanted to do, I guess, maybe his own thing. I don't know what the issue is. Like I won't bring all of that up, but like he just ended up leaving. Plain and simply, just ended up leaving. And then I started to kind of rebrand myself. I took a couple months off, and then that's how we got Crash Course then. So, and then ever since then, I guess the story has been written, and you can kind of see that journey throughout my channel, because I took a good amount of the old videos off for different reasons and stuff like that. But there's still videos throughout the whole channel's life, if you will, and to see where we started or where I started and to what we're doing now. To me, it is, some stuff is like, wow, this really took a while to do this. But at the same time, it's like, wow, this actually happened kind of faster than I even thought it would. Like sometimes, you get that like drive in you that's like, I don't care what, because you're not into this for money or anything like that, because you're going to be pretty broke if you're going to be coming into it for money. So,
Yeah.
like I said, like ever since before I was born, I was into this stuff because from my parents and everything. So, definitely, it's a love and knowledge. Ever since I was a baby, I learned about this stuff, this genre, the 80s and stuff. And now, for reference, I was born in 1992, so I wasn't even around when this scene was a thing. It was pretty much on its deathbed at that point, on certainly life support. And and that's what's kind of cool there too, because I bring a view or an angle to these albums and to this genre of not being the cool thing, because like a lot of people that live through it, yeah, they got Guns N' Roses, they got Motley Crue, and Bon Jovi shoved down their throat 24/7. Like, yeah, they're the cool bands. But man, like I take pride in my channel, the Crash Course Metal Show, of talking about forgotten and unknown bands from this time. And because there's a lot of albums that did not sell well that are way better than Appetite for Destruction, or way better than anything Motley Crue ever did, like, or even Bon Jovi did. What, and name any mainstream multi-platinum selling artist. Like, there's stuff that just no one knows about that is way better than, the big stuff that gets pumped into your brain every single day to this day on classic rock radio or Sirius XM, what have you. And so, yeah, I mean, I kind of forget. Sorry, I'm sorry. I talk too much, but what was I don't know how I wanted to wrap that up, but I mean, that's kind of the history of the channel, or like as content creation. Yeah. And that's what we do. We love doing interviews. We love doing especially interviews of forgotten bands and forgotten artists. I certainly like doing that. And just like album reviews, reactions, and I love bringing the community together. That's one of the big goals too. I got to say this point. One of the big goals of mine is bringing everyone together, whether that be Hair Basement Brian, you guys, Guru, like anyone. I'll talk to anyone about this stuff if it helps the scene.
Yeah.
Now the live scene, I don't know if that's ever really going to come back to what we remember it, but just to keep this stuff alive, or to bring back the new age, the new like a modern rock and metal scene. It doesn't have to be hair metal, just good music, just good rock and metal. Like that's what we need, and I think that's one of the big goals of the channel is just making it a community again. And that's if I can at least do that, to help with that, I'd be happy as hell, and that's a goal.
That's a
Well,
good goal. Man. I like that goal. I definitely.
Yeah. Good.
and I've noticed that that we do have a pretty good X community of music and guitar players and musicians and stuff like that. So it has really been awesome to see that grow as well. I mean, I get tags all the time from you, and it's like nice. Let's go check out what's going on.
Yes. I know
So
that's Yeah,
yeah,
I agree with you because that's the thing. Like, I wasn't always on X. Like, I always had an X, but like, I was like, because I was always like on Facebook and stuff like that, because that's where I had like most of the following. But like now with X, like you said, we have like a little community now, and it's like I'm on X. I think more than I am on Facebook and stuff now, which is I'm totally cool with because I'd rather see, music stuff than uh, all the stuff, weird stuff that you see on Facebook. So, but you see some weird stuff on Twitter that are X as well. So, that's not exclusive. But I agree with you 100%.
so what? Well, let's see. What has been like one of your highlights from your channel? And I saw one where I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Okay.
And
That's
I hope you know which one I'm talking about. It was recent.
okay. Well, I'm just gonna say this: the people that I've met and talked to, like, is just awesome. I've met I became friends with other content creators and just guests on the channel. Like, and it's just cool. Whether that's my age, people older, like whatever the case may be, is cool. And then also too, I never thought I would have interviewed people like, okay, when I was like 15 years old, listening to all of this music, I never thought I would meet some of the people that I met. Never thought I would have even interviewed any of the people that I've interviewed on the channel. Like, it's just crazy to think about that. Like, because I know as like a 12-year-old kid or an 8-year-old kid, I'd be calling my 32-year-old self. You're a liar, right? Yes, you're bullshitting me, right? And then the little kid in me would be like, so I gotta wait 24 years till this happens, so like something like that. And it's just kind of crazy because, and I think I kind of know what you're alluding to, the Michael Kelly Smith.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, from Brittany Fox, yes, and because like I had an in-person interview with him, like we go record shopping and such. Like, who would have thought? Like 8 years old, like Brittany Fox was a top 3 band for me. It still is, and when I was young, because that was like one of my dad's favorite bands. So like I was up in the attic with like Boys in Heat and the debut album, like looking at this stuff, and I'm like, this shit's awesome, like I love this cover, this album artwork, I love this music, like, and that's kind of when the snowball kind of started rolling for me as well, like consciously, and certainly that was certainly a highlight, I would say, meeting Michael Kelly first and foremost, and then that was a bucket list interview, I would say, for me, then no doubt. So, and I think my dad might have been just a tad jealous about that.
Nice.
So, but yeah, other than that, though, like, yeah, it's every I'm grateful for everyone that comes on the channel and everyone I talk to, like, because it's a journey, man. And like, if you're not in it for the journey and you're in it for like everyone has goals for their channel or for themselves. Of course, I have plenty of goals and what I want to do for the channel and stuff, but you got to enjoy the journey and, appreciate the people along the way. And that's, as long as you do that, I think you'll never have that bad karma or that what if even, like, and that's kind of how I live the channel by, and just building that community, like I said earlier.
That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Something we can take notes on because
Hey,
we're just getting started with having guests and all that. We just started that not too long ago, really.
good.
A few weeks or a few months ago, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, man, it's a journey, and like I said, unless you get that like lottery ticket video that really like blows you up, you have to enjoy this journey, and
Yeah.
that's the best way I can kind of describe it, man. Like, because I never really got asked like these questions about my channel, so like, and you just gotta be real at the same time. Like, I think with the world of like AI and stuff like that, like we're starting to see some like fake channels, fake documentaries and stuff like that. Because like there's a couple documentaries out there that are just like totally AI written and just totally AI done, and you can tell like if you know what you're looking at as far as like AI, you'll know. But also if you know like the information inside the documentary that's true and that's not true, like you're like, okay, now someone, if they knew what they were talking about, they would not have even had this clip in or that misinformation or whatever the case may be. So I think when you lump all that together in the future that we're going into, like being real, I think that's what people are going to start to want, more and more.
I get you. Yeah, there's a lot of AI. I mean, even music wise,
Oh
there's
yeah.
whole channels of they would sound like a normal band, but on the problem what I have with AI is all the singers sound the same.
Hmm.
It's kind of the same music no matter what you do, and it's always got that processed sound to it just a little bit where you
Yeah.
can catch it. You can
Yep.
catch it being AI. So
100%. Like sometimes the emotion, I guess, if we gotta put a term to it, maybe like the emotion isn't 100% there, and that's what we kind of pick
right,
up on. So
yeah.
that's just kind of my
Oh,
thought on that.
yeah. I like to hear voices crack once in a while. Being a vocalist, I love to hear a voice crack because it's like, oh, they are human.
Right.
They are absolutely human, and it makes me feel a little better about stuff. But
Well, in this day and age, Pro Tools is like this. It's magic, and it fixes everything, and it's like, guys, I understand you want to sound good, but we're kind of old school. You go
Hmm.
in and you do the take, and if you don't get it the first time, you don't have the guy go, okay, well, I'll just fix this note here,
Yeah,
or I'll just do this.
I
So,
agree.
it's for me, it's cool to hear something that sounds professional, but at the same time, I like that the old school. It's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
old school.
To maybe is the right word to be more raw. Like
Yes.
to okay,
yeah,
'cause that's a big problem that I kind of have. Not a big problem, but like it's a kind of an annoyance how a lot of the modern metal albums, no matter what genre subgenre you're in, has that kind of same feel of production to it. And it's like, like, and then you start getting into that. This kind of sounds the same. Like a lot of stuff starting to sound the same again, and now I know maybe not a lot of people agree with that, but it's just kind of like little details that I think of, like, like maybe that's kind of why power metal nowadays kind of a lot of it sounds the same and it's hard to stand out because a lot of it is that production, and even like modern mainstream metal has that kind of same production throughout a lot of the stuff. And I mean that's just what I kind of how I see it, not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but no one wants to hear kind of like the same production on every single album, and that's kind of my thought behind that.
yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of the newer metal, especially, sounding a lot the same. You can't go to it like any even in metalcore, deathcore.
Okay.
All the singers sound the same at this point. They're all there's nobody with very few bands have that distinctive breakaway style. That's why I'm drawn to them because they
Yeah.
had that different style to them. I'm like, yeah, you're out of the mold a little bit,
Hmm.
but you're still killing it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of bands that just you could play 3 albums back and the album you're on and it sounds exactly the same.
Yeah.
It was the same producer. It was in the same studio almost. It's just the songs don't get the love because it's like everything's cookie cutter stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good term. Cookie cutter. I like that term
yeah.
to describe that.
Well, and then it's just there's you get those bands that like Mikey is a huge Ginger fan,
Okay.
and her
Absolutely.
style, there's they might do the growls or the real guttural type fucking vocals,
Mm-hmm.
and other people kind of pick up on it. But the thing I liked about Ginger was her ability to go clean and do the real low stuff, and their stuff kind of changes up.
Yeah,
It's not always the same every time. So
I
they're
agree.
actually
Yeah.
trying to do some different stuff. And to me, the bands that kind of do that are going to stand out a little bit more than just and there was hair bands that came out
Mm-hmm.
in a certain period that kind of said, okay, let's sign every hair band we have.
Mm-hmm.
And it was everybody had the same look, had the same outfits, and kind of some of them had the same cheesy lyrics, and they might have 2 or 3 good songs that really stood out.
Mm-hmm.
And the days of having that album that you put on and every single track kicks your ass, during that time it just started going down and down and down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So that's what happens when you get that's I mean, these bands, they're going to end up the same way as what happened to the hair bands if they don't change stuff up.
I agree. Yeah, that's a good point as far as like what we're seeing today. As like, I don't know. Do you think we're in like a transition period, or like what, like as far as like modern metal, like do you think something else is going to come take its place? Because we haven't, with technology and stuff now, like I don't know. I think that's kind of why, like, yeah, grunge kind of faded out, in the mid to mid 90s, and then we got that like second wave of like alternative or grunge bands that a lot of people like throw shade on, kind of like Creed, Nickelback and stuff like that. Like, and why they're kind of like still around today to an extent, and they didn't like fall off like grunge or hair metal did. I think it goes to the point of technology, because like MTV just didn't stop playing Creed. I mean, sure they were on MTV and stuff for a little bit, but MTV was kind of like phased out of music videos. Like, so like they didn't have that like downfall because they're like internet was starting to come around as well. Like you can still keep track of these bands. It's not like back in 1992 I couldn't find a Spread Eagle album because the local record store didn't have their second album on hand. Like it's kind of a different animal. Obviously, to today, it's way different. So like you can still kind of stay with bands a lot easier. And I mean, do we? That goes back to the point. Do we even have a scene? The scene's on life support. So like, what can you kill that's already on? Or like on life support kind of deal. So like that's a whole can of worms there. I don't know if we're ready to go into that.
Yeah. Well, I personally think I don't know of a new metal band that's really taken by storm. The biggest bands in the world are still Metallica, Judas
Legacy band.
Priest, yeah, Iron Maiden. Yeah, all the legacy bands are still going 40, 50 years in even. But there's not a new like straight up metal band that's kind of taken a big leap as far as being popular. And it's getting swallowed up because metalcore is kind of took over. You go to these bigger festivals and stuff, a lot of these main bands now are metalcore, but the legacy bands are there. But there's not like a new band that came out in say 2021 or 2020 that I can think of right off the top of my head that's like considered just metal, straight up metal, that's really gotten a bunch of traction. I'm sure there's a bunch of good ones out there, but they're not like rising to the top because it's just they're not doing anything different. I don't know what the deal is with that, but Creed making its comeback was kind of they call them dad rock now.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like that, Nickelback and Creed and all these people. I loved Creed. I enjoy Creed, man.
I'm
I
with
think
you. I'm with you. I like
yeah,
Creed.
Scott Stapp was a big reason for it though, because his voice was different, unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nickelback was because they love the hate. I think they love the hate. It just gives them more promotion, really.
Really?
People
Yeah.
say how bad these guys really are. I used to be a Nickelback hater. I hated them when I was younger. I hated them.
Mm-hmm.
But after I stood back for about 10 years and started listening to Nickelback, I'm like, yeah, I was just being an asshole. I was just being an asshole because their music's good. I don't care what the lead singer might be a little different. He might talk out his ass a little bit. I don't care. I'm
Mm-hmm.
there for the music more than I am him.
Yeah.
And they're a lot better than I thought. And
Right.
I have to eat crow once in a while as an old man like me. I'm an old man.
Yeah.
But I listen to Creed, every so often still.
Mm-hmm.
It's that the first couple albums were flawless, but there's no band like that right now. There's Creed. Creed came back to kind of like jump in that role, but it's like I wish a new band would emerge from somewhere that's not the growling. As much as I love the metalcore and deathcore stuff, I want a normal metal band to a brand new one
Mm-hmm.
to just come out and blow me away. I'm waiting for it. I just can't find it yet.
The only one I guess I could really think of off the top of my head would be like Five Finger Death Punch. I'm not a fan of Five Finger, but like that's like the only one that it really comes to my mind. That kind of like when I remember when they came out, like they kind of took over a little bit. Like they were like they
Yeah.
planted their flag, and like everyone I seem to know that even liked metal a little bit knew who they were, and I was like,
Well,
okay,
Slipknot
right.
is like one of those
Yeah.
bands that I would consider that kind of they've been around. How long they've been
I was
around?
gonna say you can kind of call them a legacy band
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, they're
honestly.
Yeah,
technically a legacy band, but in my mind, if you were
Yeah.
listening to hair metal all the time, oh, this is a new band. No, they've been around a while, but that Five Finger and Slipknot kind of are the last concentrated effort by a record company to prop up a band.
Okay. Yeah.
And now you have got the internet and TikTok, and everybody has got this short attention span to where they want that quick hit of dopamine and say, okay, boom. And, oh, this is a trend. This is a trend. And it's in and out so fast that, the record companies can't, they knew when hair band was hot, that's where they went. And then when grunge came in and took its place in alternative, that was hot. So it wasn't this quick turnaround, and you could actually put your attention, and the A&R guys at the record companies could say, okay, we can kind of mold this band and prop them up and give them advertisement. I mean, it's all about fucking money. It's all money.
At the end of the day, yep.
And we never had that opportunity in the fucking late 90s, early 2000s to take on what was internet. And now, you had bands. Our band, we started in 94.
Okay.
And as soon as we started, this internet thing. So you start putting stuff on the internet to advertise your band. And, even though we were local, we took advantage of that technology in order to try to get ourselves out. And when I was in high school, I never thought, oh, I'll have a song on the internet, or we'll have, a chance to be heard on this internet station, or actually our local station had a artist highlight and we got our stuff on.
Okay.
But you didn't have that back in the day.
Right.
So now, these new bands have got to try to get into this technology and TikTok and the platforms to try to promote themselves. So you don't have that opportunity. And a lot of them, they do their own tours.
Yeah.
And they set their own tours up, and they pay the cost for all this stuff instead of a record company, which some of them still get picked up. But it's not like it used to be with this big juggernaut.
No. Yeah.
No, it's not.
I'm going to throw a devil's advocate at you with the other side of saying with the internet, yes, you can promote yourself and everything, but does that then flood the market for fans? So like,
Yes.
Yes, it does.
like the cream doesn't rise to the top necessarily anymore.
Right. We just had that. Me and Skeeter had that discussion not a couple weeks ago, I think. And I said it's great advertising for these bands to get on Reels and TikTok. That's where I discovered a lot of my newer bands was
Mhm.
TikTok and YouTube Reels.
Okay.
But I see 1,000 of them a day. If I sit down to watch a couple reels, I'm there for 4 hours, and I've probably seen 10 bands that I kind of like, but I forgot 8 of them
Yeah.
because it's just there's so many, and it's like it's definitely oversaturated, but it's good and bad. It's good for
Mhm.
them to get out there, but it's bad for the fan because man, I got to pick out of these 10 bands, which ones am I going to go chase
Yeah.
down the rabbit hole? Because that's what
Exactly.
I do. you know, I,
Maybe.
I get hooked on a band and I'm like a pit bull. I
Oh
want to
yeah.
know everything there is to know. And then I hear no, it's like, oh, squirrel, I'm going to get that band now.
Yeah.
And I
And then
go all over the place.
And then if you got to pick up their catalog, that's an easy $100 right there. Like you say, if you find 8 bands this week that you like, and they have at least one album, at least one album, that's over $100 if you want to support them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it is crazy. It's a very different and weird time just in music, the last 15 years or so, and I mean, I just don't know. I hate blackpilling. I hate blackpilling because I'm not a negative guy at all. But it's weird. Like, what are we gonna see in the next 10 years? And that kind of frightens me a little bit. Is there even gonna be any new bands? Or are we just gonna let that go to AI then? Like what's going on here? Like, because one, there's no money in it. Now, yes, you can say, oh, we do this for the music and stuff. Yes, but if you want your artist to keep doing it, have incentive to do stuff and to be able to get it out to you, you got to support them at some point. You can't just
Right.
listen to Spotify or YouTube or just LimeWire, like download their music for free. And I think ever since like the Napster thing, that kind of really was a big turning point, I think. Now I was a little too young to really remember that, like specifically the Napster ordeal, but like right after that was LimeWire a couple years later, and that like
Yep.
everyone downloaded stuff on that, and so it it's a tough landscape out here, no
Yeah,
doubt.
it is. Yeah, even back when MySpace was before
Yeah,
Facebook, you could actually they could post their songs on there and you could just listen to the stuff, go to their page and listen to it for free.
yeah, I
But they're
remember
trying
that.
to promote themselves, but you don't want to go out and buy the CD from them for $5 back then.
Yeah, yep,
But a lot of those MySpace bands are still around. I mean, they got them to where they needed to be, but they probably have to tour to support themselves because they can't. You're not going to make the money off the albums like you used to.
exactly. It kind of flipped the script because like bands used to release an album to support the tour, and now bands tour to support their album, basically.
Yeah,
So it just
exactly.
everything seemed to do a 360 or a 180, or
Well, so you're at the age group. You're my son's age.
okay.
So is physical media and merch still important for you? And do
Oh,
you think it's still important for the younger generation?
I would say, it was always for me. It always
Okay.
physical to me. I technically do have Spotify downloaded on my phone, but I can't tell you the last time I listened to Spotify or added a song to my like favorite list or whatever it is. Like ever since I was 12 years old, I I heard radio, like local rock radio, and after like a month, I got the absolute shits of hearing the same 10 songs and from the
Yeah,
same 10 bands that just ain't that good, to be completely honest with everyone.
yeah,
And I was like, I just gotta buy my own shit, I guess, because they're not playing Cinderella, they're not playing Britney Fox, they're not playing Danzig, they're not playing Megadeth. Like, so what am I listening to this here for? So ever since I was 12, I started collecting CDs mainly, but I got a decent cassette collection. I got an ever growing vinyl collection the past 10 years, I would say. But I got it well over 1,200 physical format albums. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm physical till I die, basically. And now, as much
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, as much as I love like what digital has brought us as far as everything else, like I am old school when it comes to music as far as buying physical, and I get very upset when a band doesn't put out a CD or an album or like something physical format, because I'm like, how am I going to support you? I'm not downloading your album on Amazon. Like I'm just not, because it's just weird to me. I don't know. I don't think I only did that with maybe one or two albums in my life. And then and then I ended up finding it actually on CD on physical format like a couple years later. So I was like, okay, so I just spent twice for this album now. So like, if I can't find it physically or get it physically, I'm just not gonna listen to it, because there's plenty more other great music that I got to put my time to, that I can get a physical copy of and have, and it's just like a little peace and time, because I could pick up an album over here that, oh, man, I bought that when I was 19, and that, I bought this when I was 28, I bought this when I was 12, like, oh, this was probably one of my first cassettes I ever bought, like that type of deal as well. It's just sentimental too, but I get why people like digital. I 100% get it, but what it comes down to is you got to support the band, and digital usually doesn't cut it, usually, especially once you go down like the Spotify rabbit hole and such like that. So that's why I'm usually physical, and if I have the money, I have no issue with supporting buying an album, or a shirt, whatever the deal. I don't really wear that many band t-shirts. I usually like wear my own like outfit when I go out to like shows and stuff. So the shirts, I'll buy a shirt for the right price, but I'll tell you what, I'm not going to Iron Maiden and spend $60 on a shirt. I can't get there with that. I can't get there with that. Now I will, but I did bite the bullet and spend, what was it? 45, maybe. I don't think it was 50, but it was around the 40 to 50 range for two Danzig shirts when I went and saw Danzig last year or so, because he's one of my favorites, and I was like, I'll probably never see this son of a bitch again. So I had
Yeah.
to splurge a little bit. So, but yeah, generally speaking, all physical over here, and
No, that's really interesting, because most people your age are the opposite. I mean, you're more like us.
yeah,
Yeah.
You're like the grandpas of the world now.
yeah,
You're stuck with us, Gen Xers and all that.
yep,
But no, that's nice to hear. I mean, I appreciate. I got a not as big as yours, but I got a pretty significant CD collection myself.
good,
And it's like, yeah, it's nice to be able to grab a handful of them, take them to the river spot in the summer, and just put them in the old boom box. I got an old boom box now
yeah,
that I just crank it off the deck with, and it's like that brings me back to when I was younger. But it also, yeah, I get the whole supporting the band thing. That's excellent. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
refreshing to hear. Put it
yes,
that
and to give
way.
you guys a little white pill on this side, like people that are my age and younger, like my sister's like 8 years younger than me, and she she knows vinyls. Like she did have a little vinyl collection, and then when she kind of ran out of room, she said, "Here, just take this. Just take these albums here." Yeah, but even like my friends and her friends and stuff, like vinyl. I'm sure you guys have seen like the past 5 years made a renaissance. Like vinyl is like one of the biggest selling formats in as far as new selling, for new albums and such. And even I heard this a couple months ago from a couple record store owners that are around here. They said CDs are starting to have a little bit of a comeback as well. Not as big as vinyl, but like it's starting. Like people are starting to appreciate CDs again now. And like I always did. Like CD was always
Yeah,
where I was, but like it's good that like that's the white pill I can give you guys now. Like for like there is a
yeah,
future for physical, and even some bands, even I seen like when they put out a new album, it's vinyl, it's CD, and also sometimes cassette they do. And like I don't know
Wow.
who I don't know who, because I'm not a cassette guy. Like it's hard to find a very good cassette, as far as like sound wise. Like, and it's like I should have just tried to wait and find this on vinyl or CD or what have you. But sometimes you can't, so you have to bite the bullet. But yeah,
Well,
Yeah. Get
you
that.
know, cassette tapes, after a while, it degrades.
yes, yeah. And we can certainly hear
Yeah,
that now 30 plus years later.
yeah.
Very hard to
Yeah.
find a good cassette.
So, I mean, you know, personally, I like the sound of digital because I mean, albums, people can say, all right, I know the difference between an album that's on, you know, vinyl and a cassette and a CD. Yeah, well, yeah, because of the way it's recorded, you capture that sound perfectly with digital.
Right.
So that was a big turning point for me because it's like I can hear this, it's clean, it sounds good.
Yes, I think that's why I always gravitated towards CD because as much as the only reason, honestly, why I collect vinyl the past to be to pretext that is when I was like really starting to get into collecting, and then even up until I was about like 19 or so, like you could still find vinyl pretty cheap, and so like I started getting vinyl just because like it's cool to have this artwork behind me, like it's cool to
Yeah.
Album
have that.
covers, yes.
Like, I'm not gonna put CDs on this rack here, to show off an album. So like you can find vinyls pretty cheap still, but then that started once the whole vinyl renaissance started again, the vintage movement. Then I started like, okay, I'm not gonna buy vinyl anymore until either A, I can't find it on CD or cassette. Mainly CD. If I can't find it on CD, I'll bite the bullet and get it on vinyl because I can rip it onto my iTunes then. If you have a converter. So I do that, but generally speaking, though, like CD is where it's at, in my opinion. I think it obviously just sounds better, but people like that cracking sound, that crackling sound and stuff like that. And more
Yeah.
power to you, but I mean, for me, I'll take the CD any day, and it's cheaper as well, a CD than vinyl,
Yeah.
especially
I
nowadays.
love.
I'm not gonna spend $35 an album, like that's crazy,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
to me that's ridiculous. So
Yeah,
all they're doing is cashing in on this vinyl renaissance. That's all they're
Yeah.
doing
yep,
because it is expensive to record to vinyl.
hmm
It is. I mean, I looked into it. You
oh
know,
yeah,
you always look when you're actually doing band stuff. You're like, well, how much would this cost, and can we afford to do it? And it's you can't. It's expensive.
oh yeah. I've
Stuff
heard horror stories. I've heard horror stories about that. Because you got to get
Yeah.
bulk. Like if you don't get like less than what 500 or something, it's absolutely astronomical to get it. And then
Yeah.
most bands that have to do it themselves, they're not gonna do more than 500 copies. It's just that just doesn't make sense to them. But so you're in that in between. That it's a catch there. So
Yeah.
it's a rough landscape.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a liner notes guy. That's why I
Okay.
like CDs. You get the little, you can put where it was recorded, who's all in the band. You can write the lyrics on there if you want to. You
Yep.
can't do that on Spotify.
Yeah. So
But
like
yeah,
Spotify reminds me of FYE back in the day, where you could put the headphones
yeah.
on
Yep.
and listen to tracks to see if you liked it enough to buy it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Spotify is. But I'll get some of the stuff. I'll download. I'm guilty of that. I will download it if it's not like a big band that I'm going to listen to a ton. If
Yeah.
I just want to have it and don't really want to go out and buy it. But like my Ginger, that's bought.
Yeah.
That everything they have is bought. I
Okay.
support them in every single way I can. So it's like, yeah, that's where it becomes for me is if I really like it, I'll buy it on disc. If I just passe about it, I might download.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, everyone has their what they like, and what works for them.
yeah,
That's the thing too. You got to do what works for you at the end of the day. So I'm all good with it. At the end of the day, as long as it supports the band, I'll be
yeah,
cool with you.
yeah,
Like I'm cool. Whatever, however you want to collect or whatever you want to buy. So that's where I stand. I'm not hard to get along with.
yeah.
so let's go. Let's talk about some live music.
Okay.
So, do you have a venue in your area that you could get to in a reasonable amount of time to where you can catch live music, and do you get to see the big bands? Do you get to see local music? What is your actual scene in your area?
Actually, it was pretty decent, and it's still okay, all things considering. Now it is getting worse because we literally this month just had like the closest venue to me that brought in bands like bands like Kick and Valentina, Wild Street, like bands that do original music and tour and stuff like that. And and they even brought in Lynch Mob for the final tour or like the final ride tour. And so like it holds a little bit of people, but it's not like you ain't gonna hold Wasp or a bigger band. Not even like a mid tier to upper tier. You're not gonna hold that, but like lower tier style bands, they just closed up. So sadly, that's the closest one. That's like probably like 8 minutes away from me, and that closed up. So I don't, and like they're still opening, or like they're still going to be open, but it's under new ownership, and I don't know if they're going to do live music. So like I'm not holding my breath, and they're probably not. So, but yeah, like actually around here, like is actually like I said, pretty decent. There's two venues up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, that do all music, but they bring in rock, they bring in metal and stuff like that. So I'm cool with that. Pretty nice layouts and such. And then also like within 30 minutes of me, I'd say even still we have give or take 6 to 8 venues, that are
Wow.
decent. Within like I said, within a 30 to 45 minute drive range, and that's reasonable, especially in today's age. So, and then I'm only like an hour away from Baltimore, so like there's your big stage. Like Iron Maiden's gonna be there in a couple months. Ghost, bands like that. So, I gotta say I'm pretty lucky as far as that goes, as far as like local music, but you know, as far as like obviously the music I like is the 80s metal and stuff. So like they're starting to fade out, those bands and the fans as well, sadly. So it's just not going to be it's on that particular like scene, I guess, or group of people and musicians are kind of on like their last leg. So like there ain't that many shows with them anymore like it was even around when COVID, like because I remember when pre-COVID it was pretty hopping. It was like pretty good. Now, obviously, not like the 80s or anything like that, but like pretty decent. Like something that you could go do on a Saturday night and have fun. And now, once COVID hit and once everything started reopening back up, I could noticeably tell a difference. Like the shows weren't nearly as full and stuff like that. Whatever that may have been, or what caused people not to come out anymore or whatever. You would think 3-4 years later, people would be over that now, or like but I think people just got used to being home, being home all the
Yeah.
time and stuff, and just not worrying. And obviously, like I said, the actual demographic of like my music is getting older. Because like my dad doesn't want to like he'll come out and party with me and stuff like that, but like that's not on the top of his list anymore. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So like it's kind of weird. Just as far as like the age and then just also the music scene in general. Like country's big around here. That's like the number one selling genre I would say for live shows, but like just live music in general, anywhere is struggling now, and it's just like I said, I don't know what we're gonna see here in the future. But generally speaking, for me, around here we have like 6 to 8 venues that I can go catch a band. Like LA Guns is gonna be probably about 20 minutes away from me at a nice little uh venue in June, so I'm happy about that. I'll probably go to that. Striper was there a couple months ago, so like I, I can't
Yeah,
complain. I can't
Striper.
complain. Yeah. Yep.
I love me some Striper. You said Striper.
Oh,
I was like, what?
oh
What?
yeah.
Yeah,
No, I,
where?
I'm right with you. Striper is awesome. You won't hear no shit coming from me on Striper or just Christian metal
Oh,
in
I
general.
love. Yeah, I love a lot of Christian metal, but Striper's always been. I mean, I've been following them since the Yellow and Black Attack back in
Okay,
'84 or whatever, and it's like they just keep getting better in my opinion. It's
I
scary how
agree.
they get better, and the other bands are like I've seen some '80s bands that I really loved that are now struggling,
Yeah.
at least vocally.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them. Stephen Piercy, it was off for me when I saw that. And
Mhm.
Don Dokken breaks my heart,
I
man.
know.
He
I
breaks
know.
my heart.
I know. I
Guys
agree.
like Tom Kiefer are still there, and Kiefer kills it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
Oh
show
yeah.
I've seen him 3 times solo. The dude is magnificent every time. I'm like, that guy's should be more legendary because he's just got the uniqueness, but he's a performer. He works his ass
Mhm.
off when he's up there. I like going to watch him. Probably one of the top hair bands that I still get to see when they come around. He
Okay.
always puts on a great show. So
Yeah. I know. And remind me after the show to show you something from Striper that I have, because I think
oh,
you would appreciate it. So I
I
remind me of that. So.
I will do.
So since you've got some venues, you have the opportunity to go see some shows.
Mhm.
What kind of shows have you seen in the last year? Just go ahead, because I know that the hair bands are going around, so I'm sure you're like, I got to go see these guys because
Mhm.
I don't know what's going to happen, and that's been my mentality on a lot of these bands too. It's like ACDC is supposed to be coming around,
Mhm.
okay, and I'm like, I've seen them a few times, and I'm telling people, it's like, look, you guys, you might want to go catch this tour because I don't think they're going to come around again.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm kind of pushing it. It's like, look, if you've never seen them, you need to at least go to one ACDC show. They're going to be up in Cleveland. I saw some dates. I think they might be in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Probably
I'm going.
Philly. Yeah.
If you get a chance to go, you might want to see them because they're aging out. These
Oh my
bands are
God.
aging out.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Time is against you. A
Yes.
lot to see these bands, especially because they've been around for 30 plus years and sometimes 40 plus years. And it's just you're not gonna you're never eh, you're gonna say 10 years from now, man, I wish I would have went and saw Danzig when he was around, like because he's approaching 70 now. Like,
Yeah.
that's why. Well, it's to your question. One of the shows that I went to, it might have been a little over a year now, but it was somewhat recent. I went and saw Glenn Danzig, and that was an amazing show. That son of a bitch did not use backing tracks at all. Because you can kind of tell because you know how he like whenever he's singing live, he always pulls the microphone away from him, and like you hear it like being pulled away. Oh, and there was no track like vocal track that kept going like some other people I won't mention. But that's, that was a real show, and that's like I said, he's approaching 70 if he's not 70 already, and he killed it, man. And I was like, I got it. If he comes around again, like I will go see him again because I don't usually depend on price and stuff and how far it is. Like I won't go see a band twice unless I absolutely love them or they put on a hell of a show, like one way or the other. So I actually went to New Jersey for that. So I traveled a good bit, or well, 2 hours, I guess, maybe a little over 2 hours for the Danzig show, and then that same night I drove back. So like I didn't get home till a little later, but that was just a great day because me and my dad went up, and it was in a casino. So like that made it even cool.
Nice.
Yeah, like right on the boardwalk, like of the beach and stuff like that. So like it was just a great day. We just like chilled earlier in the day, and then when the show was over, we just took an energy drink and went back home. So overall, that was probably one of my favorite shows, top 3 shows for me ever. But as far as like the last year, I really enjoy like to me, I will go to a low to mid tier original band show than say Iron Maiden or like you mentioned ACDC. Not because I don't love Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden probably top 10 band for me ever. But one, I don't know if I can justify like $150 ticket price, and
Oh.
also, I know my financial side is coming out of me,
Yeah.
but also I'd rather spend that $150 and support a low to mid tier original band that has not made it, that needs every bit of support that they can get.
Yeah.
That's what I think because like I get the shits of seeing people buy like Motley Crue reissues, like the recent Doctor Feelgood like reissue that they reissued for like the 40th time, and like people and like other stuff like that. Just buy all that kind of stuff. Like if you love that, more power to you. But for me, I'm supporting this band that just released their debut album or second album and are struggling, that I enjoy their music. I'm gonna support them and buy their CD instead of buying a fifth copy of an album that I have already, just because it's on reissue and from a legacy band that ain't worried about money, ain't worried about getting noticed anymore or what have you. So
Oh, come on. You're not going to support Kiss's 50th tour
yeah,
and retired 5 times, and you're not
yes,
going to.
Skeeter, I'm going to disappoint you here, and I'm going to say I'm not going to buy Gene Simmons VIP pass to be his roadie on the tour that he just canceled, actually. So
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
so
wow.
Oh man, that sucks. Now, being as where you're at, have you ever been to the M3 festival?
I've never been. I always wanted to when I was younger, but I will say they are starting to charge like outrageous prices for the
Are they?
bills that they're getting. Like I remember like last year or the year before, half of them were like cover bands. Like it was just not like there was only one original guy in the lineup and he was the bass player, like Brittany Fox. It was just Billy Childs as Brittany Fox. Like, come on, like I'm not paying this outrageous ticket prices that you guys are charging just to see these old bands that don't even have the original lineup together. Like, I don't know. And another thing that upsets me about M3 is that it's it's only the legacy bands. Very rarely do you see anyone from the second wave of sleaze metal from like 1999 to 2008. That now, granted, most of them are from international, overseas, and stuff. But if you want this scene to stay alive, you need to get more. You need to get younger, not get older. You need to get younger and not taking any.
Yeah.
I love the golden age. I talk about the golden age 24/7, but I also know that we need to have a future as well. And the past like 5 year bills on M3 has disappointed me, especially for the money. Like uh, I'm not interested to go see David Roth this year. I mean, I was never a big fan of
Yeah.
solo work or anything, so like maybe that's not a good example, but like even like Stephen Piercy, like I I don't know, like
Yeah, but Warren
Yeah.
DeMartini is
I
back.
know, I
And
know,
so for a guitar player, I'm
I
like
get it,
going,
I get it.
oh
Hey,
God, I'd kind of like to see that, even though I've seen Piercy and
But yeah,
it's
I didn't
not
like the
pretty.
lineup. I'm agreeing with you. I didn't like the lineup this year. I didn't like it the last couple years.
mhm,
Now there was a handful a year, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, where I would have gave everything I had to get over there, to go to that. And we had a festival like that over here where had everybody and their brother that was from the 80s. I mean, everybody
Yeah,
you can think of. And I went there, dude, and it was at a fairgrounds. And I bet there was 3,000 people at most for bands like Winger
yeah,
and Twisted Sister was there. And I mean, Jeff Tate's Mind Crime,
yeah, okay,
Trickster. I mean, you just pull any name out of your hat that was a 80s band. Vince Neil was a headliner, well, by himself, but
okay,
he was a headliner one day. Brett Michaels was a headliner one day. They had like Steel Panther was there, which is fun.
yeah,
Not really an '80s band, but
right,
they
yeah,
play '80s style. But it was just 3 days of some of my heroes playing, and there was nobody there. I couldn't believe it.
I
I
know,
was like in shock that it wasn't packed out.
yeah,
And it was just
and that,
and those were good ticket prices. I mean, they were like $200 for all 3 days,
okay, yeah,
and so for
reasonable,
all
yeah,
those bands, yeah, and
yeah.
it was like crazy that nobody showed up.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, like to the M3, like the pre-parties that they do for M3, those bills are better than the actual M3 bill. Like it's sad because like Sick Vicky, like no one really knows them. They had their debut album in '93, so obviously they didn't do much, as far as like sales and stuff. But like it's a great album. It's probably a top 50 album for me of hair metal, and they're in the pre-party. Like okay, I'm going to see that instead of seeing these other legacy bands that get shoved down your throat all the time. But I want to give a little shout out to the Monsters of Rock Cruise. I will give them credit because I probably will eventually go on one of those. But I'll give them credit. At least like I don't want to say half the bill, but like at least a quarter of the bill is young new bands that have that same hair metal feel, look, and everything. And I gotta give them credit for that because yes, you're trying to attract a future. If you want this to keep going, for your business, just think of it as a business type model. I, I'm not going to keep giving you the same product and not innovate or try to go to a new uh, audience, if you will. Like I don't know. It to me, it just I don't know. Maybe that's just like I said, it's the financial or business side of me. But like I don't get it. I don't get why M3 does that, and I feel like they're dropping the ball every year that goes past now with that.
Well,
Yeah, it gets worse and worse festival wise. I mean, the lineup gets worse, and I would think the attendance gets worse because I wouldn't pay to go to it now. But
Right.
5 years ago, I probably would have
Yeah.
jumped on it if I could have then. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
well,
crazy.
the cruise thing, I saw that Burning Witches
Mm-hmm.
was on the cruise this time, and
Yeah.
that was a good move for them because they're trying to be an up and coming power metal band,
Of course.
and I got to see them. And at first, I didn't. My buddy got me into seeing them, so
Mhm.
I've seen them a couple times. Did a meet and greet. That was worth the money. That was cool. And they could be big if they had the backing.
Yeah.
But
There's so
they're
many.
doing it right though. They were coming out before they started headlining their own tour, and would come out to the merch booth and take pictures, and all of them would eventually come out, and you could interact with them. That to me, there's that business part where it's like that is a good move because you're interacting with the fans, and they're going to
100.
remember that.
Yes, 100. You're
That's an
building that.
impact.
Yes, you're building that connection to the fan, and the fan won't forget it. Whether they're not a
Yes.
fan, whether they're not a fan yet or not, either. That's also important. Because that's how you create a fan. Even if they don't think your music's the best, or that or it's high on their to buy list, just having that interaction, that connection to you, can change everything. I know if I end up liking a musician personally, or like they treated me cool or whatever, okay, I'm going to support you somehow, some way. Then. So I mean, it's just I don't know, just the way my brain works. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting for the M3. I think we might not have too long to go. They gotta have to change something, or they're not going to be around much longer. But that's just my thought.
I agree. I agree. I it used to be like a staple for me. Or like a bucket list thing I wanted to do.
Mhm.
Now it's like I wouldn't waste my time. At this point, this lineup this year was like the worst one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
No way am I gonna. Even though it's DeMartini, I get that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I think they got a good possibility they'll swing around here somewhere local. I
Maybe.
mean, somewhat local to us. Hour away, hour and a half is about our main travel time for the bigger venues, but
Hmm.
we get some 20 minutes away and sometimes of the older bands, and it's like, yeah, well, I'll take my chances. It's like it's not that big of a deal. I seen Stephen Piercy play in a bar down the road from me for about 75 people not 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like you never know, and the resurgence could get him back up there. But
Hmm.
yeah, I've seen him a couple times, and it's okay. But
Yeah.
Well, and I got to see Quiet Riot
yeah,
twice.
yeah, that was a half a block from my house and a diviest bar you'll ever dive into there.
We have
So
That
a
was
couple of
crazy.
those around here too. So yeah.
and the last time the singer from Love Hate was fronting the band.
Yeah, Jizzy Pearl. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. Got to do a meet and greet with them. So I was like,
Very
nice.
cool.
Rudy's back with the band. So I was like,
Yeah. Yep.
holy shit, And
I.
he was real cool and everything. But that those opportunities are going to start going away. So you're
Oh
right.
yeah.
The scene it's aging out, and it all depends on the fans. You got to keep it going.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. That's what I mean. That's kind of like what I try to do as well. As much as I like to talk to your age group, obviously the OGs, but I'm trying to get younger as well. That's how we're gonna have a future. That's how this stuff's gonna stay alive as well. Like just the OG music, like Vane and Cinderella and Brittany Fox. Like that's how their music's gonna stay alive. If you keep having your kids listen to them, or just younger people, just get it out there, and so, but
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful it sticks around. I mean, I love it too. As much as I love my modern stuff, I still love my '80s.
Of course.
And it's like it's hard to watch some of them declining, but yeah, if you get a few newer ones to come around, just get the whole scene back, then some of these other bands will, maybe stick around a couple more years that are doing well, like
Right.
the Tom Kiefers of the world. I don't want Tom Kiefer to go away until he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, I'd go see him every year if he comes around here. I go every time I can. So the last time I didn't get to go, which is kind of depressing, but James, Skeeter got to go, and I'm like, yeah, fuck you too, man. I've seen him a few times and met the guy and everything, and he's just a cool dude. He's one of my favorites. Like
That's awesome.
now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool. I got to see Cinderella twice. Like one of the last couple times that they toured, it was the Rock Never Stops tour, like 2005, and then I think the next year, 2006, they were in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and it was all original guys too. And the last one was with Poison too, so that was even extra special.
Nice.
Because it was like the Pennsylvania boys, so like that made it even cooler. Be like a hometown concert, if you will. So that's special to me because I obviously Brittany Fox, Poison, Cinderella. I grew up with their cassettes in the family car, so like seeing that bill was absolutely awesome and something that I'll remember. But but yeah, as far as like I've seen so many like local shows, it's like kind of crazy. Like and when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, who the hell did I see? like obviously Steel Panther, I was backstage with them. Oh man, like,
nice.
yeah, it was cool. Like, because I remember I said to Russ or Satchel, the guitar player, because he was the guitar player for Fight, Rob Halford's band after he left Painkiller. So he went and did Fight, and Russ Satchel, the guitar player for Steel Panther, was his guitar player on that album. And I walked up to him and I said, Russ, I love your work on Fight. And he was like, oh, really? Like he was like, you know about that? Like, you actually know my real name? And I was like, it's okay. I didn't say that loud, but it is what it is. But they were pretty cool though. I didn't get to chat with them as much as I like, but like they were backstage and stuff, and it was cool though. Like they seemed like really cool dudes, So,
yeah, they seem like they'd be fun to go up and just hang out with.
Yeah.
The last time I saw Cinderella, fucking Motorhead opened. Cinderella played second.
Really?
And fucking Iron Maiden was the headliner.
Really?
Was the last time I saw Cinderella.
That's a hell of a bill.
And I was like, what? Who picks and puts Cinderella in the middle of fucking Motorhead and Iron Maiden?
Yeah,
But it was cool. It was cool to see him. But that was the last time, and I was like, that was actually the first time I got to see Cinderella.
Okay. Damn.
So it's you never know where, and that was back in the 2000s.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and that's kind of the thing too. That's kind of upsets me as far as like where we're at as a scene now. Because like when you go to a bill or like a show now, you get like first off like 4 bands on a bill. I don't want to see 4 bands in one show. That's just me. Like, and especially when you get 4 bands that aren't even a part of the same subgenre. Like you got like a death metal band opening up, then you got like a more melodic hair metal style band or what, you get like all these different like bands that don't even like, you're not even getting the same fans at that point, like and then some people leave obviously after they see their band or whatever. It's just, I don't know if that's just the state of like metal or like a live scene in metal now, because like no one's going to put just 1 or 2 bands that aren't going to draw that much. But if you put 4 bands together, yeah, you're going to have better ticket sales technically. But are most of those fans going to stick around for the whole bill? I will, just because that's how I am. Like, I'm not going just for for a half an hour, but I don't know. That's just kind of weird. Like the last 10 years, I took notice of that, especially in like the lower to mid tier bands and venues and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I
a
can see that.
there's a whole can of worms and a whole different reasons why it is the way it is. But I don't know if we will ever find the answer or solve the problems. So
Well,
Well,
I had just a fun side note for you here. Very first time I saw Cinderella was Bon Jovi, Cinderella, Winger, and the Bullet Boys at a
okay.
big Buckeye Lake. It's a big festival type thing. It was 4 years before you were born. So
Yeah, yeah, that's funny
just
because
saying.
I think that's where my dad, he saw Cinderella in '88 on the Long Cold Winter Tour, and he remembers Bullet
Yeah.
Boys being there, and one of the other ones that you said. So like that's when you said that, I was like, oh, my dad's seen that tour anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it was a good show, but yeah, I was thinking, man, that was '88. He wasn't even born yet.
Yeah,
Dating myself a little bit, but that's all right.
that's all right. We're all here to have fun.
well,
That's right. That's
but then
right.
that also opens up that when we were that age, it was hard to get a fucking ticket
hmm
or to be allowed to go to a show like that for
Right.
us.
Yeah.
Because that was we were. My first show was '85, and it was Ronnie James Dio. Was my
Okay.
first concert,
Nice.
and I was surprised I was allowed to go to a show because I was a junior in high school. I'll date myself, you know.
But
So,
yeah, so you weren't even 18 yet.
but during that time, it was harder than hell to get tickets to some of them shows.
hmm
So, like Priest and Dokken was a big show in that time period. I was in high school, and fucking it sold out.
Yeah.
So we didn't get that opportunity sometimes to go to these shows. So for me, when the resurgence of the hair metal, it's like I'm actually going to get to see some of these guys for the first time because
Yeah.
I didn't get to go.
Yeah, that's nice. That's cool. It's a way to get your bucket list bands off of your bucket list,
Exactly.
And also to your point of it was hard back then to like see some bands and stuff. And also too, if you weren't 21 in some states to see bar band or not bar
Yes.
bands, but like a lot of big like Dirty Looks, like a lot of bands actually played in like bars and not
Yes.
stadiums all the time and stuff. So like obviously if you were under 21, you wouldn't be able to go. And then obviously in 1991 or 1992, when the whole scene changed and you finally did turn 21, you got screwed because then now all grunge bands are in the bar. Now you're left with like, oh shit, now I'll never see these guys.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right. Are you ready to go through the 10 questions we like to ask all of our guests?
Let's do it.
All right. Question number 1. Favorite band now?
Okay, so is that kind of my favorite band of any era or just like new band?
Mikey, you want to handle this?
I'd say whatever band you've listened to and really dig onto the most right now in your life, if there is one. You might
So,
not be able to
well,
decipher just one.
yeah, no, you're 100% right on that. But like forever, it has forever as in
Well, that one's next. Next
yeah.
is all
Oh,
time.
okay,
So we'll go all time
okay.
next. But let's go with now.
Okay.
Who are you listening to the most now?
We'll
I
just
would
make it a new band. We'll make it a new band. Well, a
Yeah, there you
newer
go.
band that you're listening to.
okay. I will say a new band I've been listening to a lot the past year or so, give or take, is Say Beer. I the their album hit number 1 in my ranking for album of the year in 2024. Super raw, like how we were talking about the production. I think you guys would really enjoy that production because it doesn't sound. It sounds like Venom in 1983, but
Oh yeah, that's
it's like very melodic though too, and it's so hard to explain. Like the uh singer's name Scarlett, his voice is really, really good. It has that punchy metal, but it also has that like melodicness of like what Wasp can do too, but has that sound, that production of Venom yet too. But also sounds like something like hair metal style songwriting and songs and stuff. The album's Yacht, Jatt. Please check it out. I ever since I bought that album and interviewed him and stuff, because I get like the press releases for some labels and stuff. So like I was able to get the album a little beforehand. And ever since then, I had not shut up about that album. So I will say that because they only have that one album, they have an EP before this as well, which I did enjoy as well. But like this album is really, really good. And I'm happy to talk about that. And I will say that I played that album probably the most this past year. So by technicality, I guess Say Beer is the band I've been listening to most the past year.
Okay.
Nice.
Fair enough.
Let's go to number 2. Your favorite band of all time.
Okay. I will give you a top 5. How's that?
Yes.
That works.
All right. So Cinderella, Brittany Fox, not in any particular order, I would say, because like that's super hard for me. Like I can listen to it. Me ranking my top 50 hair metal albums is taking me forever because it keeps changing. Like, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to do it one night and finalize it, and just that's it. You know, that's it. I'll revisit it in a year or whatever. But no, Cinderella, Brittany Fox. I wouldn't put Poison there, but as far as like I said, in the family car and stuff, Poison does mean a lot to me. But they're not a top 5 musical artist for me though. Danzig is in the top 5. I'd even throw probably the Choir Boys, the London Choir Boys, in there in the top 5. To be completely honest with you, like the last 10 years have really grown on me, and I just love. I think Spike is one of the best frontmen from that era, from the late '80s, early '90s. So it's just badass. And I think that's 5, right? And XYZ, I'll throw in an extra one.
Wow.
XYZ is certainly going up my list the past 5 years. So
Nice.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
All right, number 3. Favorite song of all time. It's probably gonna be a top 5.
Well, yeah, and that's even harder than, because I don't know if I have a 5 out of 5 album or song. So like, because like I said, I looked at all this on a level playing ground, like ever since I was young and growing up. So like, it's so hard because like, and I get so much new music all the time. Like every week I have at least 2 albums if I'm lucky. Sometimes it's 20. So like there's all kinds of like new stuff coming in to my brain all the time ever since I was like 13, because I always bought, like I'm a collector. I've always bought this music. So like it's so hard to be like, this song, if I really had to do it to save my life, I probably could give it to you in a week. Not even like one day, but like in a week, I'd have to really think about it and go through my whole library, which would be insane. But what I can do for you guys is I took a picture of my iTunes, and I have, as far as like the most played since I had iTunes, which is probably 10 years, give or take, old. So like some of this will be skewed because some of them are not my favorite songs, but they were just played the most. Maybe I was hot for it for about a month or a year, and then I haven't visited it for the last 3 years, you know? So I'll give you a couple here. Loving You's a Dirty Job from Rat with 300 plays. I Stand Alone from Jackal with like high 200s. Forever Free from Wasp.
Oh, nice.
Which is crazy because I can't remember the last time I heard that song. So like I must have played it because I did really like that song like in high school. So like a lot of those plays were probably from high school. Right on Track from the Lost Boys, which I know no one knows who that is. If you guys are familiar with Odin, the band Odin from the Decline of Western Civilization 2, that movie.
Okay.
You know the guy with the assless chaps on stage? That is the guy, when they disbanded Odin, it was their project after that. So like obviously it didn't do jack shit, and it's super hard to find, but I have it. so like I said, that's the perk of being early to this whole renaissance and stuff when the shit wasn't cool, you know, in circa 2005, you know. So was able to get stuff real cheap as well. So, all right, next, 10 Seconds of Love from Motley Crue, which Motley Crue is highly overrated. I know that's probably fighting words to some people, but that song kicks absolute. That song kicks absolute ass. I love that riff. Mick Mars is awesome. Possibly even underrated, which, you know, I get why people say that he's underrated, but he's a great riff master. And I just wish Motley Crue would utilize him a little bit more, you know, instead of, you know, some other people. But and then also too, Louder from Britney Fox from their Bite Down Hard album. What else? Love for the Money. Goddard, which is a very big Swiss band, I believe. They're from Switzerland, from the early 90s, and that album came out in 1994. The last great album from hair metal in 1994 that was actually like hair metal. And they're pretty big overseas, and they have multi certifications and stuff internationally. But over here in America, obviously not. You know, but man, like, there's so much great stuff. It's so hard for me, like I said, with the collection and stuff. Because if I ever do a collection video, like a video of my collection, I'm gonna have to put that son of a bitch in like 5 parts. so it's gonna be a while, and it ain't gonna be 20-minute videos either. So yeah. So that's a little bit of a glimpse of some of my, I guess, highly ranked songs. But like I said, some of them they wouldn't sniff a top 50 list right now. You know.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, let's go to the next one. Number 4, favorite concert. What's your favorite concert that you've been to?
Okay. I touched on it a little bit earlier. Danzig would have been one. That was a big bucket list of mine, and it was just a great day outside of the concert as well. So like, it was just a great day, perfect day. Other than that, that's so hard to think of though too. Like a special one for me though will be Veins of Jenna in 2007. It was when they opened up for Poison and Rat. Now, Veins of Jenna is a second wave of sleaze metal. So they came out, they were from Sweden, and they came out around the time of Dirty Penny and Crash Diet, if you guys are familiar with Crash Diet. So like they had that sleaze attitude, rock attitude, like what you expected from a band in 1991, like greatness of hair and sleaze metal. And because they only lasted for 2 albums, you know, that's kind of a common theme from these second wave of when the Renaissance was going on with these new bands. They weren't making any money, and the original fans of hair metal didn't give them a chance because they only want to hear the legacy bands that they grew up on. You know, which that's a whole nother rant for another time. But that was special for me because I absolutely love that album, Lit Up, Let Down. Absolutely awesome album. To me, that's my generation's Appetite for Destruction. Like I think it's that good. Like, and it means that much to me. And it was just great because they, like I said, they only lasted 2 albums, so like they didn't tour America much, you know. And I got to see them open up for Poison and Rat, and
Nice.
I still have their tour shirt that I got that night. And like I don't wear it that much anymore because like I don't want to ruin it and shit. So, but that was a special one. But I've been to so many great shows and so many people bands I could shout out that put on great shows, and it's just. But those are the 2 that first came to my mind, I will say.
Okay, awesome. All right, number 5. Who is your least favorite artist?
If anyone watches my channel, they know probably who that is. It's gonna be Bon Jovi. It's gonna be Bon Jovi because they're. Well, one of the reasons why, if you guys are familiar with the art or website Sleaze Rocks for like news, they do like news and stuff, articles on like recent events in hair metal and sleaze metal and stuff. I remember when I was like 13, 14 years old reading that because like they had this bio thing of like all the bands from the 80s, hair metal, sleaze metal, and glam metal and stuff. And just after school, I would just go through and look at all these bands and albums and just go to YouTube and see what they sounded like. And that's how I got a lot of these albums off eBay and stuff or in my used record stores and stuff, because I was like, oh shit, these guys sound good. I'm going to buy this, buy that for $5 or less, which is crazy to think about. But, yeah, but one of the articles was Bon Jovi said that the writer or a fan asked him, why don't you tour with any of the 80s hair metal bands that you were with and that you are a part of, obviously? And he was like, what are you talking about? We were never a part of that hair metal scene. Like, I'm not going to take any of these bands out with me, pretty much talking shit and shitting on them. And ever since then, I was like, fuck you. I am not having anything in my collection. I will not have anything good to say about you, just because of that. That just tells me like who you are, basically like not
Arrogant.
yeah, and trying to save face as, oh, we're not a part of that. We're cool. We're cool. We're not a part of that scene that no one likes anymore. And which is
Wow.
funny because 2005, 2006, around that time that I remember that reading that, I was like, oh, meanwhile the Renaissance is going on. Like these bands,
Yeah.
these 80s bands are starting to come back and be somewhat cool again, and like I don't know, ever since then I was like, yeah, I'm not dealing with this guy anymore. So ever since then I haven't listened to Bon Jovi, haven't bought anything. Bon Jovi doesn't sniff the
Yeah.
collection or my
Mhm.
ears or anything. So
Yeah, that last album was, ooh,
was it?
yeah, it was
I can
bad.
imagine. Yeah, because I remember when like Have a Nice Day came out, Bounce came out, and I had well, my family had those albums because I was a little too young yet at that point. But they were, I guess, okay. I mean, I could listen to them, I guess, but like maybe one or two songs were okay. But like, yeah, that definitely cut it with me when
Yeah.
he said that. I was like,
Yeah.
nah, this is where I call home. You ain't gonna shit where I sleep. So yeah, so that's why I always go on a rant when someone mentions Bon Jovi on my show or whenever I see someone put Bon Jovi in a list or whatever. But as far as like overrated band or just a band I just can't get into, Twisted Sister would be one. Yes, I just cannot get into Twisted Sister. I don't know if it's just the gimmick or well, some of it's the songwriting. I don't think the songwriting's there. There's nothing there guitar wise that impresses me. Technicality, like I don't know. I know I'm in the minority with that, but I just think Twisted Sister is one of those because I just bought. Well, I will say, Love Is for Suckers. I actually can listen to. I have that over
Oh
here.
God, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
I know, I know. That's their biggest bomb.
Uh,
That's
oh
their biggest
yeah.
bomb. But I can
Oh,
actually
wow.
listen to that and not complain. But I just bought Can't Stop Rock and Roll 2 weekends ago. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm giving this a chance. And I listened to it. I probably put about 4 songs on the iPod and I was like, I can't, there's not more here. And those 4 songs barely made it. Like I'm like, oh, I just can't get in. Now, Widowmaker from D. Snyder, that's more up my alley. Like I can dig that. And I actually just picked that up too a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I Twisted Sister just can't get into.
They were they had their little boom and then
Faded, yeah.
Yeah. Stay Hungry. Yeah, that's the only one I liked. The only
Okay.
album I ever bought or had anything to do with. But
Yep. I don't know. Just
I didn't know.
I don't know what it is. Like We're Not Gonna Take It, I Wanna Rock, I think are real cheesy and just not great
Yeah.
songs technically. Like I I'm not listening and you hear it all the time on the radio too. So like
yeah,
that's
overexposure.
yes, and that's another big thing too. It's like I don't want to hear this, and I don't want to buy this album because of that. But like I said, I do give everything a chance and stuff. If I come across it, I'll pick it up or what have you. But yeah, there's just nothing that I heard of Twisted Sister other than Hot Love that I was like, I'm gonna buy this album, So
Wow.
I know that's crazy, but
Yeah.
I call hair metal home, so like that's why I think I gravitate towards that album because it is more melodic. Uh, Obviously, the guys from Kicks play on it as well. Bella Hill and Winger play on it as well. So like that's probably why also subconsciously that's why I like it.
Yeah.
See,
Good
I
deal.
didn't even know that. That
Really?
when,
Okay.
when that album came out, I was like, leader of
Done.
the fucking pack. What the fuck is
Oh
this?
yeah. Well, that was the album before that album.
Oh, was that
Yeah, that was
okay?
on what Come Out and Play, I think. Right.
Okay, okay.
And see, like I don't know that. I know that song, but I don't know that album to like talk
I
about
it
it.
was it was bad. That was
Yeah, and
it was yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I heard, and but yeah, Love Is for Suckers. I think is certainly, or Hot Love as a song is certainly better than what's Leader of the Pack. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Everything's better than Leader of the Pack.
Yeah.
That song sucks.
Yeah. It was bad.
Uh,
All right, let's go to number 6. Most influential album.
Man, see that's another one that's tough because I go through so much and it's like I feel so bad when I leave something out. So, but I will give you like a couple that are just very important to me, like just throughout the years, not so much recently or what have you. But I mean, Long Cold Winter, obviously Cinderella, like that's just important to me. Boys and Heat from Brittany Fox is important, and some like really deep cut ones. I will say like McQueen Street, self-titled from '91. Very, very. I loved that in high school. Even a couple buddies that weren't necessarily into hair metal liked stuff off that, along with Vane, which you can see behind me. No Respect from '89, very good. Lynch Mob, I dig Lynch Mob's first 2 albums, very good. And like I said, Goddard is a very forgotten one. Maybe because like a lot of it was they were from overseas, but they were over here though too, in 1990, 1992, and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean that album, Dial Hard, from 1994, so good. And when you listen to that, you're like, this came out in 1994, and no one heard of this. Like that album alone in 1994 could have saved hair metal if it was properly promoted and distributed and stuff. I don't know, but those are. I mean, I could keep going on and on, but like, I I have 50 here in front of me, but like I'm not gonna name all 50. But but those are certainly ones. And XYZ Hungry, I can certainly play that. I take it to a desert island and be happy with. So that's a little list of them.
Nice. I think we already know your favorite genre.
Yeah, certainly the hair metal genre is where I call home. Sleaze metal, there's like a subgenre of the subgenre, if you will, glam and stuff like that, AOR. But I mean, also too, I like I said, that's not where I'm always at. I'm heavy into blues music, all blues music, Delta, Chicago, swamp blues, also funk. I'm a big like Parliament. I'm big into funk, early 80s, late 70s. And then also soul. I like soul music as well. Like Temptations, get the fuck out of here. That's
Motown.
some of the greatest music ever done.
Yeah.
Lionel Richie and stuff. Like it's I can't stay in one genre, although it does sound like I do stay in one genre. But you do gotta play. Like I said, I hate to keep going back to it, but you gotta call someplace home where you always visit. What is you that you grew up with and all that stuff. So, but there's some other genres that people don't maybe realize that I'm really big into and have a collection of as well. But yeah, generally speaking, hair metal though, that's where you're gonna see this big smile.
All right, number 8. Most embarrassing blunder.
I like
So it could be with your
An
channel.
interview. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess the first one that came to my mind was with the channel would have been in my first, because I did do a revised album ranking for Brittany Fox. On the first one I did, I said for Boys and Heat, I said it came out in 19 what eight it came out in 1990, and I said it came out in 1990, and it actually came out in 1989. And I was like, fuck. And it was already like published. It was out for a couple days or whatever. And someone brought that to my attention. I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, but what's actually kind of even crazier about that is the album was released in late December '89. So technically,
Yeah, you're
a couple
kind of.
hours away from 1990.
You're okay.
But yeah, but I mean, that's like the first thing I thought of, like as like a fuck up that I did or whatever. But knock on wood, everything's been pretty decent. I can't say I fucked up too bad on anything.
Let's go to number 9. Hardest celebrity death. And of course it can be a celebrity, it could be musical celebrity.
Mhm.
What hits you the hardest when somebody passed on?
Generally, I would say I'm not the biggest like movie guy or like put people up on a pedestal just because they're like big and famous. You know, like if you're not a cool person, I don't care about you. Basically, you know, like if you're not respectful to people and stuff like that. You know, but I will say the one that I can remember actually like having a tear for and going back and reminiscing with some videos and stuff would have been Jeff LeBar from Cinderella when he passed. Because obviously, like I said,
Yeah,
big part of
no,
the family, music. Like even before I was born, that cassette was probably in my ears at some point when I was in the womb. But yeah. So like, I guess Jeff LeBar would probably been one I was like down.
wow,
I was
yeah.
I was down for the day. I would say I was like, man, that sucks, and texted some friends and stuff that were fans of Cinderella and stuff when we were growing up and shit like that. So I guess that would probably be the answer. But like, it's so hard to like have a connection. Now that yes, music is a big connection. Like yes, but like a personal connection, like and like a lot of people like, oh, I got to see what this movie star is doing. Like kind of like the paparazzi type deal. Like, oh, I got to know everything that this movie star is doing, or it's just kind of out of whack, like the last 20, 30 years. So like I was never big in like, oh, these guys are gods. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, that's just kind of me personally, but some people that is what they live for, and I totally get it. But for me, I would say Jeff LeBar was one I was like, fuck, man, this sucks for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
All right, let's pick it up a little bit. Number 10, most valuable memory from music.
Okay, this is a good one. I sat here for a little bit and thought, I guess the valuable thing for music is, I guess
What's
when
the
I
one memory that you're going to go back and say,
okay, yeah,
that was,
I guess when I think of like hair metal at someday, I will say this. Uh, Looking back when I go to like the hair metal and stuff, I think I'll think about my parents, you know, because obviously they got me into those three main bands: Poison, Cinderella, Brittany Fox. So like that is where the love of hair metal came from. Although I wasn't always in the hair metal, throughout my 8-year-old to 12-year-old phase, I was in like Kiss and stuff like different stuff, pop, Backstreet Boys and shit like that as well. But like, relax, guys. I'm 8 years old now,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
but I came back to that, and it was always a part of the family. So like, hair metal is a big part of the family, and also too, through school, I introduced many of people to Cinderella and introduced them to Vane. Different hair metal bands, and kind of revitalized it in my class, if you will, to a couple people. And also too, in my 20s, it was a big part of me. I remember, like I said, I remember when I got Asphalt Ballet album when I was 19 or 20, like, so like, and even up until this day when I started the channel a couple years or 4 years ago or so. So like every step along the way is great memories, and the people that I meet doing this, like you guys and other content creators and guests and everything, and the bands that I talk to and stuff like, so like it's a big encompassing answer, if you will. There's not that one memory that's sure there might be some that are better than others, but like I said earlier, it's the journey, man. Like
Yep.
I'm going music. I wouldn't be sitting here right now if it wasn't for music and specifically hair metal, probably. So yeah, that's kind of my big open-ended answer, if you will.
Well, thank you very much for doing those. We try to ask the same questions of every guest just to
Yeah.
get
See,
that different take.
yes.
And usually it kind of opens up your eyes on how somebody is and where they sit on things. So
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
appreciate it, man.
Of course, I appreciate you guys having me on and just asking these questions too. Like, and this has been awesome. So always happy to talk hair metal and just metal in general. Like I said, we need it. So
So everybody can find you at Crash Course Metal Show on YouTube specifically.
yep. And I am on Rumble as well, but
Okay.
I don't post as much because if you guys remember like a year, well, maybe not because you don't really use YouTube, but like a year ago, you were able to sync up your channel and your uploads with both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think Rumble stopped that or YouTube stopped it. One of them stopped it. So like there's like the last 6 months, my uploads didn't upload onto Rumble. So I am trying to put a couple videos. I just don't have the time to do it on both, you know.
Yeah.
So you will always find me on YouTube and X and Facebook and stuff. But like Rumble, I'm trying to get something, some kind of scheduling down to post something like the important videos or like big videos, a series and stuff like that. But yeah, you can find me on Rumble, the past stuff anyway.
Well, good. And you're on X?
Yep. Crash Night or Trevor Crash. You know, just type in Crash Course, or I'm sure you'll find me. So
Awesome. Hey, thank you very much for coming on. I'd love to have you on like a live stream sometime as a
Of course.
guest.
Yeah,
We can sit around and do the same thing and shoot the shit about music.
of course. Hey guys, anytime. Like I said, I love chatting with you guys here. Like this was fun. I love talking about this stuff and just shoot the shit. I mean, that's what I said. Like build a community, man. Like it shouldn't be hard to do. In all honesty,
Yeah.
you know? Like
Well, everybody's got to stick together, man. And this
I
is the
agree.
best way. Hopefully people will see this and get a little bit of background about you and you know.
Yep.
And
I
support
appreciate
his
it, guys.
channel. Definitely support his channels.
Yes.
X, YouTube, all that. Support
Yes,
him in any way you can.
I appreciate it, guys. And thank you again for having me on, Mikey and Skeeter. This has been fun, and we will certainly do something again in the future. So,
all right, this
Yeah.
is Skeet.
Lushin, Mikey.
See ya.
Peace out.